This is the Soft Power Podcast, episode number 9. Hi, I'm Susan Callender, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here. I have been attending social events for decades, and by social events, I mean fundraisers, networking, cocktail parties, conference events, you name it, the entire gamut. And I would attend because I received an invitation, which obviously meant that someone wanted my presence at the event. I've also spent hundreds of dollars on single tickets for fundraisers and attended alone. In fact, most of these events I attended alone because I'm a single person and I didn't need a wingman to come along with me. I felt that I could hold my own. I would often buy a new outfit, sometimes spending thousands on gowns. I would have my hair and my makeup done. I would just make a special event of it. And then I would arrive, and sometimes I would leave within a few minutes of arriving, sometimes within 10 minutes or so. I just walked around the room, got the feel for it, and decided it wasn't for me. That was because I put all of my effort into my exterior and I didn't know how to start a conversation. I did not know how to comfortably approach a person, ask them a question, find out any information about them, and have a dialogue, a basic, simple back and forth. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because it is single-minded, selfish, and a little bit immature to always place the onus of initiating a conversation on another person. It's our job to do that. It's not the other person's job. It's the burden of starting a conversation. The goal is to never have a person walk away from you first. Now, I learned that from a friend who mentioned to me that she was at a cocktail party and somebody abruptly just walked away. And she was so insulted. And then when we were talking about it, she did figure out that, well, she was a little bit boring. And she was going on and on and on. And when you don't know how to make conversation or small talk, people can just get tired of you very quickly. Now, many of the clients that I work with now, fast forwarding, are surprised to learn that it's not what they're saying that's holding them back from starting conversations. It's often what they're doing. And that's where we're going to have our focus today, on how to stand out and make the best of a social situation. Now, how did this topic come about? Because I did a poll within my clients and people that I serve, and I asked the basic question, what is the one thing that you would do if you were more outgoing, perhaps less introverted, shy, or self-conscious? And the responses that came back, for the most part, mentioned being social, attending social events, or just having conversations with people, public speaking, dancing, singing, photography, hypnosis. It was just amazing to me, the things that people would do if they were more comfortable. So today we're going to talk about those things that can make you more comfortable and more likable when you're out and about. And one of the things you want to do is just to make sure that you have a friendly and open demeanor. Your whole presence should say to people, welcome, I'm friendly, I want to chat with you. When you present yourself as closed off or disinterested, even if it's unintentional, nobody's going to be excited about wanting to get to know you. In fact, they'll avoid you. They won't invite you to join them in conversations, and sometimes when they see you coming, they'll turn away, just letting you know through their body language that they're not interested. So after that first hello or introduction, just act as if the person that you're speaking with is the most important person in the room, or for that matter, it could be in the world at the moment. That person is the most fascinating person to you. Now, when you arrive at an event, you want to enter and know that you are bringing energy and joy into that space. If you arrive and you have trepidations about being there, and you don't feel confident within yourself that you can pull this off, everyone will see it and feel it. When you're speaking to people, you want to actively listen to what they're saying. Now, that just simply means that you're going to make a conscious effort to hear not only the words, but also the complete message that's being communicated. What happens too often is that we're not listening to everything that a person says. What we're doing is planning our response. And when we're planning our response, we are not giving that person our full attention. So in order to do this, you simply have to pay attention to the other person very carefully. And you can't allow yourself to become distracted by whatever else may be going on around you. That means that you're not looking over their shoulder, or you're not turning your head to see who else has come in the door, or trying to get another person's attention to let them know that perhaps you'll be over in a moment to speak with them. It means fully stopping and giving the person in front of you your complete and full attention. Now, I know for some of you, just the thought of that agitates you. You may want to look at your phone. You may want to see who else is in that space, but consider, how would you feel if a person that was speaking to you was looking over your shoulder? If something they said had nothing to do with whatever you had just stated, you would feel a little insulted, no doubt. In fact, you may want to end that conversation, and that's why active listening and truly paying attention to people will separate you from other people. It will make you appear as if you're on a higher pedestal. It'll raise your level, because that is something that's difficult for people to do. Sometimes it's just nervous behavior that causes you to look towards the door and wondering who else may be coming in. But always put yourself, to the best of your ability, in the shoes of the person that you're speaking with, or even if it's a small group. It just doesn't make you look good. And if you're making that effort, spending that money to be at that event, then why not give people your full attention? Now, speaking of actually being at an event, this can take place online as well. We've all done those online meetings now, and sometimes they're just as meaningful as being face-to-face. You just have to seek out that person or those persons that you're going to connect with directly, and we do that through breakout rooms. I can recall being much younger, and every time the door opened or every time a new person would arrive, I would turn my attention towards them. Now, I would never turn my head away from you. I would make sure that I maintained eye contact with you. I was nodding. I was certainly paying attention, and I would know exactly what it is that I would state as a follow-up to whatever it was that you were sharing with me. Now, on the other hand, you don't want to hog the spotlight. Now, this isn't so much an introverted or shy behavior, or if you're self-conscious about speaking, but extroverts can tend to do this, but also any nervous person can do the same thing. In fact, introverts can do this quite well. You just get so wrapped up in yourself that you start talking and talking, and then you realize that you're sharing a little bit more than you planned, and then you keep talking, and you don't understand the importance of bringing others into the conversation, or maybe pulling a quieter person into the conversation and out of their shell. The bottom line is to stop pining for people's attention and look for ways to include other people in the conversation. People will just like you more. They'll be more interested in hearing what you have to say when they can see that you're a good person. When it appears that you're all about you and your accomplishments and what you bring to the gathering, people will tune you out very, very quickly. So you want to focus on the people in front of you, and that also means putting away your electronics. You are more likely to be seen as a kind and valuable person, a person who is a leader, a person who truly cares, if your phone is never seen in the course of a dialogue. Now, think about the number of people that are in any given room with you who have their phones in their hand. We all know what a person is doing when their neck is bent, whether they're standing or sitting. We know that they're more interested in their device than the people around them. So if you want to stand out today amongst anyone else in your space, make sure that your phone's never seen. You don't need it for these interactions. You're there because you want to mix with people. Now, the same thing can be said for an online or virtual meeting. If you go into breakout rooms, you want to be able to have dialogue with each person in that room very purposefully. At the same time, if you are in one of those boxes on a screen, everyone can see if you're looking in another area, if you're looking down. They know what you're doing. They can tell. So let's give people the respect that is due to them. In my TED Talk, which I'll link to in the show notes, I talked about the importance of clicking, linking, and syncing with the people who you're with. Now, what I mean by that is, for the purposes of this podcast, we'll just discuss the bare bones basics like smiles and open or defensive body language. We're inclined to be naturally attracted to people who come to us in a friendly, relaxed, non-defensive manner. It's so basic. However, we have to be conscious of how we appear to others. So just having that relaxed look, having open body language, just simply meaning that your arms are by your side. You can cross your arms while you're having a conversation with a person, but that is not going to win you any points if you're looking for a person to approach. You must remain open and non-threatening, and that's what people are looking for. Why? Because there are other people in the room whom they can choose from. And you want to be that chosen person. When we subtly imitate the gestures of a person, we're just looking for them to subconsciously see that we're on the same level that they are, and we'll probably more than likely get along. The best way to get a conversation is just to begin with questions that start with who, what, where, when, why, and how. So, for example, if you're at a meeting and you're on a break or at a reception afterwards, you can say, "Who is your favorite speaker today?" On the other hand, a closed question would be one that will be answered with a yes or no, and it will get you nowhere in terms of small talk or longevity with that question. And also keep in mind, you don't want the other person to end the conversation and walk away from you, particularly abruptly. So for instance, you could ask the question, "Are you glad you attended today?" If you ask that question, that's going to get you a yes or no answer and no traction. So there is a better way to ask any question. You also want to look for commonalities. The more interesting you are, the easier it will be to make others share their interest. I recently did a live video on Facebook where I talked about the importance of making yourself interesting or seeing just how interesting you are. What activities do you enjoy? Are you a kite surfer? Do you take acting classes or improv? Are you really into photography? Have you learned how to do hypnosis? Anything that you partake of that is not in the norm, it's not in the course of business, it's outside of that, makes you more interesting. Anyone in a room full of your colleagues can easily have very similar conversations. What do you bring that makes you different and unique and interesting? When you have that yourself, you are more likely to draw that out of other people. So when it comes to establishing a rapport with someone, look for ways to just establish common ground through shared hobbies or interests. This is when having a wide variety of interest and a diverse background will definitely come in handy. Thankfully, conversations do run their course, so you don't have to worry about talking for a long period of time. Give yourself 3 to 5 minutes to have a conversation with a person and leave open loops and cliffhangers. That means you will start telling a story, but let them know that you'll follow up with them just to finish that, because there are other people in the room. You are not there to monopolize anyone's time. So leave them with a cliffhanger, or simply thank them for the pleasure of their time and the conversation that you just enjoyed. There's no need to go on longer than necessary. You want to be remembered fondly, not as that person who just didn't know how to graciously end a conversation. Now, on the other hand, there are many things that can bring a conversation to an abrupt end, and one is interrupting others. When a person is speaking, train yourself to not speak over them. We've discussed this in a previous episode, but even in person, you can use the 2-second rule, which ensures that a person has completed their statement. Now, 2 seconds in a very fast-paced society can seem like an eternity, but also to the person that's doing the talking, it can appear that you're just being thoughtful and thinking before you respond. Who wouldn't like that? You also don't want to ramble on. Make your points clear and succinct. There's no need to say more words than necessary on any topic. If they're listening to you, they got your point, and they will respond in kind. A lot of people have that standard conversation that they travel everywhere with, and that makes them say, "Oh, have I told you this story before?" You want to avoid that. Have fresh material. You are a multifaceted person. There's no need to to continuously repeat the same story. There's a unifying factor among the habits that I just mentioned, and they're all direct results of not listening. Think about it. If you're interrupting others, you're not interested in what they're saying. You're too much in your own head, thinking about what you want to say, and even the most conversation-starved person will tire of that very quickly. Just meet people where they are, give them what they need, and leave them wanting more. So, what's your greatest interpersonal or people skills challenge? Do you struggle to speak up in meetings or to stand out in competitive places? You can DM me on Instagram at Susan Calendar Business Class. And if you're ready to be in the game rather than on the sidelines, I have a guide that'll help you step out of your comfort zone. And you can get your copy at businessclass.expert/comfort zone. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye for now.